Around. Around. Who thought right back where we need you?
We seem a lot because we got him on the spot.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
I don't remember the words.
I just remember the TV show, right?
Yeah, welcome back, Carter.
Rasan, I've got to say, it's great to see you. Back on the mic.
Back on the mic.
It's been so hard with COVID, you know? I mean, we were out for, 16 months, then we came back in, and then there was another shutdown.
It's been awful, and it just goes to show how creative Ear Hustle is to keep going without me.
Well, but now we're back, and that's the cool thing. And we're back for another episode of Catch a Kite. You want to remind listeners what that is?
Well, a kite is a message sent through the prison like grapevine or underground, or however you want to describe it, right? And so people send us kites asking about life in prison, and we go around San Quentin finding people to answer them.
Exactly. But this time we're doing something different. We've got kites going in two directions, this time between San Quentin and a women's prison.
So you guys got these women on the phone and asked them our questions, right?
Yep. And they've got questions for you too.
I'm Rasan New York Thomas.
And I'm Nigel Poor. This is Ear Hustle from PRX's Radiotopia. Over the last few months, we've been talking with a few women at the California Institution for Women, which is located just outside Los Angeles.
And guys here had all kinds of questions for him, and the first one comes from my boy, John Levin.
My name is John Levin, and I've been incarcerated for 13 years. One of the questions I have would be, do they think about men as often as we think about women? That was one question I had.
We gave that one to an incarcerated woman named Rakisha Scott.
No, I don't believe that's true. Being straight is like an anomaly in here. It's weird, you know? Mm-hmm. So a lot of women in here, they don't think about men because they're not into men. Most of them have been hurt by a man. They don't want to deal with men. So I don't think that they think about men half as much as you guys think about women.
My first thought was not in your wildest dreams.
And here's Alice Copeland.
Many of these gals in here have husbands, and they have boyfriends, and they have significant others on the outside. But when it comes to sex, they partner up real quick in here. Some of them eventually become roommates and end up with interesting romances. But they still have the husbands, and they still have the boyfriends, and they still have the significant others. And I watched it happen over and over and over. The guys said, well, crap, she's gone for the duration, so that's the end of that shit. They change their phone numbers, and they're gone, and they come unglued. They're angry as all hell, and they don't want anything to do with men for a long time after that. So again, they look for companionship where they can get it. Or you got the women in here that, hey, you know, they let their fingers do the walking. You know, they take care of themselves.
What do you think of Alice?
I think Alice is raw.
Absolutely. And luckily, we are going to be hearing from her again later in the episode.
The next question comes from Ear Hustle's own Tony Tafoya.
And New York, I think we need to give a little context for this one.
So, Naj, there's this new law in California.
Uh-huh.
It allows people to transfer to the facility that matches their gender identity.
Right.
Regardless to whatever gender they were assigned at birth.
So trans men can now transfer to men's prisons, and trans women can now transfer to women's prisons.
And here's Tony's question.
For all the trans men that are at CIW, do they want to come to the men's prisons?
Here's Rakisha Scott again.
I am friends with a few of them, and what they tell me is this, that a lot of them don't want to get the bottom surgery done, and they won't feel safe being at a men's prison. So a lot of them don't want to go to a men's prison. They can't go up there with a vagina. They cannot go to men's prison with a vagina. They know they're not going to be safe.
My name is Jackson, and my question is, for women who are in for killing an abusive partner, do you think you got a fair sentence?
Oh, no. We get more time because we're expected to suppress our feelings. It's like, how dare you? You know better. You're the woman. You're supposed to have it all together and, just do what you've been raised to do.
Thanks to Tamara Hinkle for that answer. In New York, does it seem to you that women get harsher sentences than guys in here do?
Oh, hell yeah. I have a pen pal in Chowchilla, and there's a couple of female formerly incarcerated people that I'm in touch with.
Right.
And I hear it time and time again. Some women are in prison for killing somebody that was abusing them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get life without.
Right. And basically they're there because they were protecting themselves.
The lifers are the most gentle people. They're like super soft-spoken, and for the most part, I mean, I'm just talking about my experience with people.
This is Jacqueline Herron.
But then on the other hand, the people that come in and out of here, like the people who are just here for, short sentences are like the worst personality-wise. My heart breaks for all these ladies here who are lifers, who are here for killing an abusive husband. There's a lot of them. It's crazy.
I don't know. New York, this is a really tough topic. Love to explore this more sometime.
Yeah, we definitely got to do like a whole episode on this.
A lot of guys inside San Quentin have told me that they think women's prisons are actually tougher than men's prisons. So I'm wondering, is that really true?
Wait a minute. I thought it's supposed to be incarcerated guys asking the questions. How come you're asking the question?
I know, but come on. This is a question guys inside ask all the time. It's almost like this urban legend or something. This idea that women's prisons are just notoriously violent. So I figured this was our chance to finally ask it.
All right.
I had to know.
That makes sense. Here's Jacqueline Herron again.
Men's prison just looks scarier, like on TV, but I don't know what it's like. I know, like, racially, like, we mix together here, and I've heard that you guys don't. Like, we're friends with each other.
Men's prisons, from what I've heard from COs, they deal with gangs, the racial separation and politics, and they're more violent than women.
That was Tamara Hinkle, and here's Alice Copeland.
Men are capable of being more violent in a physical sort of way. Okay? They'll punch you and they'll knock your lights out. Now here, if a woman punches you, you're able to pick yourself back up off the floor. You know what I mean? But the actual mentality that these women have is they're tough. And they're going to do what they have to do to take care of themselves. A lot of them are from abusive backgrounds, and they wouldn't trust you as anyone as far as they could throw them.
Naj, there may be more gang politics in a men's prison, but it keeps you safe in a lot of ways. In prison, you need permission to fight. If the shot caller doesn't give you permission, you can't attack a member of your own gang. You can't attack somebody else's gang because it could start a war. You need permission.
Okay, that keeps it safer. So in women's prisons, they don't have that.
They don't have that. So if somebody wants to smack somebody, they getting smacked. You
Permission free. Wow, okay.
There's chaos in there, Naj. Total chaos.
How y'all doing today? I'm Joshua Burton, and I have a question. And my question is, what's the biggest misconception that people have about women in prison?
I would say that we're weak. And from my 27 years of incarceration, I've seen that women are stronger, we're resilient.
That was Tamara Hinkle, and here's Rakisha Scott.
That we're living in Club Med, I guess, Like everybody's just laying around and watching TV, big screens, and not doing much. And I think that's what a lot of people think women are doing.
When I got to prison, when I was first arrested and all that, the first thing everybody assumed was, especially because I didn't come to prison until I was 64, they just said, oh, I bet I can tell you what you're here for. You wrote some hot checks. You know, and I just said, no, I didn't.
For Alice Copeland, the biggest misconception came from other incarcerated women who took one look at her and just felt like they knew her whole story.
I think it kind of floored them because it was actually 2 counts of attempted murder. So, you know, they didn't see that coming. And unless you're one of the gals that happens to be standing there and she's got a face full of tattoos, you know, or something like that. But if you look like Grandma Moses, you know, they're just going to sit there and tell you, oh, you're here for something silly, you know. I said, no, I'm here for the duration. So I am here for the duration.
Do you feel that's the duration?
Oh, I figure I'll die here. Hell yeah. I was horribly abused as a child, and I was even worse abused by a husband, you know, and it just kept trickling on down, you know, and voila, I'm here. But the thing about it is most of the women in here are the same way. You know, you can only take so much of that crap, and then one day you blow up. And then the courts don't know what to do with you. I never raised a hand to my folks as much as they raised theirs to me. I stuck with the guy I was married to that abused me. I stayed with him for 25 years until he died. I never raised a hand to a single solitary soul until that bozo touched me. And I did. By God, I shot his ass. But he didn't die. He didn't die. He wasn't even done harassing me and stalking me and all that stuff. You know, it just kept going, and it still has kept going, even though I'm in here. You know, but it doesn't matter to them in here. I broke the law, and here I am. When you hear the stories, it's just the same thing over and over. And
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And I love fireballs. I love the question about candy.
Oh my God, New York. Check out Alice moving right along to another question that we had from San Quentin.
Yeah, and in men facilities, we can't have candy with sugar. The concern that the staff seems to have is that sugar is used to make pruno, which is jailhouse wine or liquor.
Yeah.
And when men get drunk, fights happen. And so I guess the concerns are different. When women get drunk, they must just feel all happy. I don't know. They let them have all the sugar, Dodge. That's all I know.
Well, this question about candy that Alice was responding to came from our friend Reggie Thorpe here at San Quentin.
Out of all the candy that you could buy in the quarterly packages, what's your favorite candy? The reason why I ask that, because I look at the package books and I just see those Starbursts and those Skittles. It makes me wish that I could eat some of that candy. It's been so long since I ate some of that type of candy. And every time I look at it, I lightweight envy them that they have that choice and I don't. I miss eating the sour Skittles, tropical Skittles, Starburst, peach rings.
Yeah, the women get all that stuff.
Hey, we got to win in one arena.
Yep, the fireballs.
Fireball.
They're cinnamon candy.
I can't do without my Skittles. Okay, I'm not a candy person. I'm more of a like cookie, pie, and muffin person. And my favorite candy, Baby Ruth.
Dark chocolate.
But if I did have to pick, it'd be between a Skor bar or a Snickers with almonds.
Any kind of like the Dove or the Ghirardelli. Yeah.
New York, how about you? What's your favorite candy? What have you been missing?
Gummy bears.
Oh, gummy bears are so cute.
Yeah.
What flavor?
They have flavors?
They're not just gummy bear flavor.
What's your favorite candy? You have it with
It's
you.
not my favorite, but when I'm recording, I love these Werther's Originals.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Gold wrapper.
They've been called old lady candy, but I like them.
What year did they come out?
1928.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, CIW sends questions right back to San Quentin.
I'm sure this has been asked before, but here a lot of people are like, quote, gay for the stay. And all of us wonder if if men do that too and they just don't talk about it. And I'm sure nobody probably wants to answer that.
We took this one to our colleague inside, Tony Tafoya.
I am Tony Tafoya, Ear Hustle's senior gay correspondent. Thank you, our friend at CIW, for asking this question. It's very interesting because I think it's a bit different here. The only people I know that are gay for this day are keeping it on the down low. And the only people who would know that they're gay for this day are the ones that they've propositioned for sex. Gay for this day implies that you're having an open relationship with somebody, that it's more about love than sex. And I think in men's prison, it's actually more about sex than love. There are guys who say they're straight, have girlfriends outside of prison, multiple girlfriends, but then still try to explore a sexual side inside prison.
Has this happened to you? Are you speaking from personal experience?
People have made offers, yes.
How does it make you feel?
Second class, and like I'm only worth pleasuring someone else.
So you had a cellie,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people thought because he allowed you to move in, or even moved you in, that he's gay for the stay.
Yeah, it's really interesting because that was honestly a safe choice for both of us, especially after COVID when they kicked a bunch of people out and we didn't know who they were bringing. For safety, we kind of moved in together, and it was actually his wife's idea. Yeah, I think that the stigma of gay for this day actually may have ruined his reputation. He ended up being kind of cut out from his community. They didn't want to eat with him anymore. They didn't want to hang out or play sports or anything anymore with him.
How was living with him?
It was fine. Probably one of the best cellies I've ever had.
What do you think the percentage is of men gay for the stay here at San Quentin?
Probably about 10%.
10%.
Yeah.
This next one, it comes from Tamara Hinkle at CIW.
How would you define personal style through your physical presentation?
Ooh. How would I define my personal style through my physical presentation?
This is Reggie again, the guy who's really missing those Skittles.
I would have to say versatile.
What suggests that?
My hair.
Can you describe your hair?
My hair is in dreadlocks. Just a little over 5 feet now, because I'm 6 feet, like between 6 feet and 6'1". And I had looked at a picture the other day, and I seen it look like my hair was probably like about 4 or 5 inches off the ground. I didn't realize how long it was until I took that picture.
Well, while we're talking, your hair's down your back, and then you pulled it over your lap.
Yeah, I had to wrap it around. Like when I use the bathroom, I tuck it in a turban.
Yeah.
And that's like the most versatile way that I style my hair is just putting it in, wrapping it up in a turban. A lot of people think it's fascinating because they call it a hat. And the Spanish people, they sombrero, nice sombrero. Personally, I call it my crown. That's my halo.
Everybody always makes fun of me because I wear straight legs, but everybody swears they're skinny jeans. They're not skinny jeans. They're just fitted jeans.
This is Ton Tran. He works right next door to Ear Hustle in San Quentin.
I think for me, I would describe my style as I like to be presentable. I like to be clean cut as possible. I like to wear clothes that fit. I don't like the whole baggy look, because when I was into my gang lifestyle, I used to wear baggy clothes, do the sagging pants and all of that. And as I evolved and I grew, I said, I want to be the complete opposite of what I used to be. So that's why I wear clothes that fit. Some call it skinny. I say clothes that fit. I just like to be presentable as possible.
My name is Jesse Rose, and I've been incarcerated for 8 years. How do I define my personal style? I'm kind of like that laid-back kind of country folk dressing type of person, individual.
What do you wear? What do you do with your physical self to show that off?
Oh, I stay rough and rugged.
I wouldn't say that Jesse spends his time on his clothes.
Yeah, Jesse definitely puts his energy elsewhere.
Yes.
So I grew up with black women, and they're big on hairstyles. So I mostly grew up with cornrows. At the moment, though, I'm sporting some fancy Bay Area triangular dreadlocks. So the triangular dreadlocks is just dreads that are parted at the root in triangles to form nice, neat patterns. Most guys in prison have dreadlocks that are stinky. And I mean, like, they're just infiltrated with bugs and lint from the wool blankets. So usually I try to keep my hair clean, wash it, do it once a week.
And do you do your own hair?
I do, actually. I do my own hair.
And how'd you learn to do that?
I learned how to do my hair when I was in juvenile hall because I realized there was no one who was going to do it for me. Yeah. And I damn sure wasn't going to let no other guy. I wasn't going to sit between no guy's leg. Like, prior to my incarceration, I used to go and, women, I'd sit between their legs and they'd do it for me. And then from then it transitioned to, I can get girls by letting them do my hair. When someone looks at me, they're going to say this guy is clean and well-groomed.
How would you define your personal style through your physical presentation?
Honestly, these days, I purposely try to think about it less and less.
This is Tony the Trinidad.
Why?
Because in my youth, I was really superficial. I cared about my looks. I would have maybe a good ounce of gel in my hair, at any given time. And for me, not for anyone else, if you do that, that's cool. But for me, I just kind of got tired of building this image for what? You know what I mean? Now, that's one thing that prison has taught me that I'm a little grateful for, is that, to be able to let go of that and just be me. I used to wear baggy jeans, and yes, I used to sag my jeans, and I used to have my grandma, if I walked into a room, I had to pull them up, because if I didn't, she's going to come over and pull them up for me. And so I wear what's comfortable, and I will never wear skinny jeans.
Son, why you look at my pants, man?
You see,
I had to make sure.
Those are not skinny. Those are not skinny.
No, those are not skinny jeans.
They're just fitted.
They're just really close.
You remember what pants Earlonne was wearing?
The tiny white jeans with the air holes?
They were not tiny. They're what you call fitted. Why are men in prison so afraid of skinny jeans?
I don't think I can get out of them. How do you get in and out?
In women's prisons, we often form families. Does it happen in men's prisons?
That question also came from Tamara Hinkle, and we had Jesse with the triangle dreads tackle it first.
The bonds that are formed from similar struggles, it just happens naturally with a little bit of energy, a little bit of effort. Those ties are strengthened. So, yeah.
Do you have a family in here?
I do. I was a little reluctant to it, but there's guys around who actually want what's best for me and care about what I'm going through, the struggles I'm facing. Yeah, I definitely have a family here.
Do you have a mother figure or a sister?
In prison?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what kind of question is that?
So what does a mother do? What kinds of words would you use to describe what a mom does?
A mom is going to be caring, compassionate. I damn sure don't have no mother figure in prison, though.
But couldn't it just be somebody who was cared about you and is compassionate and that you go to when you need advice?
I think some of the same qualities that a mother display are also found in other relatives, such as a brother, uncles, cousins.
Do people in men's prison form like family bonds?
Yeah, I would say so. I've had a father figure here before.
This is Tony de Trinidad, the guy we heard from a minute ago who will not wear skinny jeans.
I have a brother figure here. I see it every day. I think that's what gets some people through, to tell you the truth. So.
Did you ever have a mother figure here?
I don't even know how to answer that question.
No, but
what does a mother do? A mother nurtures, guides, protects, loves. I just gotta say, I have not felt the motherly vibe from anybody in prison.
Yeah.
I hope I do one day. That'd be cool. You know?
Yeah. And so you just described what a mom is like. What does a dad do?
I guess the same thing, huh? Pretty much the same thing.
A good dad.
So this question's got me thinking, right? It's got me questioning my own assumptions. You know? Because what does a dad do that a mother doesn't, or vice versa? I know in my situation, there's a big difference. The mother sticks around.
It was an older brother relationship. Older brother, younger brother.
So Jesse had this cellie once, and it was this guy named Al Watson.
Mm-hmm. Al Watson, as listeners may remember from an episode, Chicken on the Bone, spent almost 30 years on death row.
Most of the time he ignored me, believe it or not. So I was always vying for his attention. I used to always go in the cell and try to talk to him, and he'd ignore me. And he'd be like, man, you just want some attention right now. So I do things, I get up, I talk. Sometimes I tell a story, a funny story. I just recount how the day went. Maybe spread a little gossip. I try to bait him in with that. I talk about intellectual things because I know he was big on, like, if it wasn't a meaningful conversation, he didn't want to have no parts in it. I used to come in the cell and clown, just crack a bunch of jokes. And he'd just sit there and just look at me like, you fool, you clown. He was like the older brother who wouldn't let me go and hang out with him, wouldn't let me tag along. And so when I had him in the cell, I had him then, like he couldn't escape.
One time, Jesse did something that he thought Al would never forgive him for.
The second day after moving into the cell with them, I saw my life flash before my eyes. I was going to do some laundry. Laundry has always been like my stress reliever. I go and do some laundry to release some stress. And so as I'm cleaning my laundry, I put the bucket full of laundry and dirty water on top of the bunk, towards the edge of the bunk. And when I jumped on the bunk, my back hit the bucket. Dirty soap hits him directly in his shiny bald head. And I just remember taking a deep breath, like it knocked the wind out of me, and I was just thinking, I hope this old dude don't try to fight me up in here, because we gonna be in here rumbling. He just took a deep breath. He was like, it's all right, man. It's all right. Yeah. I was scared, I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, I would be too.
You know that question we got about like forming families inside prison?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe it's not exactly like family, but a lot of guys form really tight relationships in there.
Yeah, and I know sometimes it takes a while, but eventually you do see people falling into specific groups. You know, like the L7s, the D&D guys.
Then you got your basketball players like me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the dudes who hang out by the picnic benches, lifting them, you know, bench pressing.
But you know something? Like, no matter what you're into or what you're about, like, you always find your people in here. I mean, they got Wiccans and Rastafarians and Muslims and all kinds of things going on.
Yeah.
When you first came to prison, how'd you find what group you belonged to?
People I knew from the streets. People that had experience with being in jails and in prisons. you know, my dad and my father both been to prison and jail throughout most of my life. So when I got to jail, it was like I was already accepted because of the pedigree of my brother and my dad. Like certain people embraced me just on the simple fact of my father and my brother. I kept company with them people regardless of what they was doing. In 2009, I got tired. I knew I could do something better for myself. I knew my life was worth more. I just made the decision to change who I start hanging around. I'm starting to hang out and spend time with people that I otherwise wouldn't hang out with before I came to prison. Most of them happen to be white. Because, you know, Naj, growing up in East Oakland during the 80s and 90s, the people in our neighborhood was black. The only time I seen white people was the police, the fire department, child protective service, teachers, ambulance drivers. I might see a commuter on the freeway every now and then. Other than that, I didn't really see white people. You know, I've been hanging out with people of color most of my life, and I just need to go outside of the box.
And what have you gotten by doing that?
I've established some real good relationships with some incarcerated people. I'm really evolving as a person. I'm proud of myself that I was able to go outside my comfort zone and develop relationships with people that I probably wouldn't have 10, 15 years ago.
I think what's interesting about the bonds that we form inside of prison, it all depends where you're at.
This is Edmund Richardson. I see him around. You know, he's got those impeccable waves, and he works down here in the media lab.
Coming from Susanville State Prison, those bonds are totally different than coming to San Quentin. So in Susanville, a lot of politics. There was like a hierarchy. And I didn't really get close with anybody. It was always like mundane conversations, like idle gossip. Coming down here and seeing other guys being vulnerable, tell those stories, kind of helped me open up. Like, how you feeling? What you going through right now? What's your dreams? What's your goals? What's your ambitions? Ton Tran, he's still here. He's like a little brother to me.
My name is Ton Tran, and I've been incarcerated for 10 years now. There's something about struggling through some of the worst moments of your life that creates a connection with someone that is just not, you can't emulate that. You can't emulate that on the outside. And I definitely would name one of my closest friends in here, Edmund Richardson. Like, I love this guy to death.
So we always go back and forth. We're always arguing and bickering. But I will say, he'll get upset if somebody ignore my phone call, didn't do something timely, submit something. Like, he'll get hella upset. I'm just looking at dude like, calm down.
And I feel like Edmund has been here for my worst moments. There was times when I was at his cell door in tears because I felt like I couldn't do this anymore. And he was the one that told me and inspired me. It's like, bro, keep going. You deserve to live. Even talking about it makes me emotional because I just love the guy to death. That's my best friend in the world.
He always went hard for me, man. And I really admire that about him. And that kind of rubbed off on me. Like I'm outspoken. Like I hold my ground. And I credit that to him.
The connection that me and Edmund have created through struggling through our worst moments in here is just, you can't recreate that. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's something different about creating bonds in prison.
Thanks to everyone at San Quentin who was part of this episode, and thanks so much to all the people at CIW who answered and asked questions.
And thanks to Katie Turner at Poetic Justice, the writing project that put us in touch with folks at CIW. Ear Hustle is produced by me, Nigel Werther's-Poor, Erlon Now and Later's Woods,
Rasan Purple M&M's Thomas, John Kit Kat Johnson, Rashid Sour Patch Kids Zinneman,
Bruce Twix Wallace, and Tony Smarties Tafoya.
This episode was sound designed and engineered by Antoine Mike and Ike Williams, David Jassy, and Rashid Zinneman.
Additional sound design and engineering by Terrence Lemonheads Bernardo. Amy Toblerone-Standen edits the show.
Shabnam Pop Rock Sigmund is the digital producer.
And Julie Atomic Fireball Shapiro is the executive producer for Radiotopia.
Ear Hustle would also like to thank Warden Ron Broomfield. And as you know, every episode of Ear Hustle has to be approved by this cat here.
This is Lieutenant Sam Robinson, the Public Information Officer at San Quentin State Prison. And for a minute, I thought we were going to have 2 back-to-back sex episodes. But then I kept listening, and it was much more broad than that. It gave a different perspective, or an insight perspective, about what incarceration is like for our women offenders. And so it was much more broad than what I initially anticipated with the opening. So with that, I will say that I do approve this episode.
This episode was made possible by the Just Trust, working to amplify the voices, vision, and power of communities that are transforming the justice system.
Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter, The Lowdown, where you can learn more about each episode. In this week's issue, guys at San Quentin answer questions about their favorite books and authors. Subscribe at earhustlesq.com/newsletter.
Ear Hustle is a proud member of Radiotopia from PRX. Radiotopia is a collection of independent, listener-supported podcasts, some of the best podcasts around. Hear more at radiotopia.fm. I'm Nigel Poor.
I'm Rasan New York Thomas.
And I'm Erlon Woods.
Thanks for listening.
Edmund, you're a champion. You're not a quitter.
Quitters don't do what they supposed to do. Champions do.
And you're a star. And you shine every day.
That's what you do.
Radiotopia.